a woman accompanied her husband to the Dignitas clinic in Switzerland has been told she will not face criminal charges.
Louise Shackleton's husband, Antony, lived with motor neurone disease for 6 years before he decided to end his own life in December his way. Now, Louise appeared on Good Morning Britain last month, and she believes her family could have been together during Antony's final moments if assisted dying was legal here in the UK.
The worst thing in my life's already happened. There's nothing more that anyone can do to me. I'm sorry. I'm punished enough by my husband having to go to Switzerland. He was punished enough by having to go to Switzerland and to die there without his family. Thank you.
Of course.
There's nothing anyone can do to me. I mean, if the police want to do something or the Crown Prosecution want to do something, then that's absolutely fine.
So at the time, thank you for coming back to talk to us, Louise. You're so impressive at what you're doing for others who are in the pain that you were in at that moment. At the time, the spectre that was hanging over you was that you could be prosecuting for, in your eyes, doing and delivering the thing that any loving wife wants to do at the point of death, which is help that death to be what the person wants it to be.
Yes, my husband lived with pride and dignity, and he died with pride and dignity. And I think everybody should have that opportunity to be able to make that choice, that they do that. I've reflected a lot since I came back, and what confuses me with the law as it stands is that my husband didn't do anything that was illegal or was against the law. Taking your own life in England is, after 1961, and under Section 6 of the Human Rights Act, is absolutely legal. But yet, because I went with him, because there was no way I was going to let him die alone, I was then put under the legal cosh of an investigation. And may I add, an investigation that I'm aware that the police didn't want to investigate. I'm aware the Crown Prosecution didn't want to. The Attorney General didn't want any of this to happen. I am aware of that. And so it also puts our legal framework into question about people that go to Switzerland, because Swiss deaths will continue to happen because the law doesn't take into account people like my husband with unstable neurological diseases.
And your point was that it wasn't just you, it was your children who not only hadn't been able to be there because you didn't want them to put them at that kind of risk, but were then worrying about their mum.
Yes, so they lost their dad. They couldn't say goodbye, even though, because nobody knew the date, nobody apart from myself and my husband. They couldn't say goodbye. I know in the lead-up they'd been able to say things to him, and we'd been able to say things that a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to have with people. But then I come back, they were absolutely fuming, isn't the word, that I had gone alone, and that I'd been on my own there and through the situation. And then they've had to deal with the potential of their mum going to prison, or even going to prison's wrong because I knew that wouldn't happen, but going through a court case, which would add an extra layer of trauma to a trauma that's already happened for us.
Just to be clear, what you did was extraordinary. When you came back, having not assisted, which is a very important word in the law, which is unlawful, accompanied your husband in dignity to Switzerland, you came back and you self-reported to the police. They opened an investigation. It took over 10 months, that's nearly a year. I have to say, tragically, you're one of the lucky ones. There are cases now being listed, not in similar circumstances, but sometimes 3 or 4 years' time. 10 months you waited. During that time, they said you have a legal duty on pain of prosecution to protect and preserve anything that might be evidence. That included your husband's computer, didn't it?
Well, funnily enough, Rob, nobody told me that, but because I've worked within the legal field and within the courts, I was aware that tablet had evidence on it that from my husband's own hand. I didn't know what was on it, but I knew that that's where he'd made his arrangements. He'd done things, you know, because he could speak into it instead of type.
So just to be clear before you get into that, because I know that's very emotional for you, something has changed now, hasn't it? It's been announced that the cosh isn't over you.
Well, that's a strange thing that happened as well, because I knew a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't able to come public, especially with reading the letter. I needed to decompress, and I needed to emotionally figure out what I was going to do next, you know, for the cause of the bill. But I needed a break, and on Tuesday I got a phone call from some press, trusted press, I may hasten to add, but some press saying that they'd been in touch with North Yorkshire Police, who had told them, who had breached my confidentiality and actually told them that it would be no further action. It's not in the public's best interest. No. The police hadn't told me.
Oh, my goodness me.
So as far as you were concerned, you were still under investigation? Just to be clear.
No. I knew I wasn't under investigation, but I wasn't going to come open with it, and I wasn't going to come out with it until I felt ready to do so.
But for 10 months, you certainly were. And that's a very serious charge that's being investigated.
Absolutely.
That exists in your family.
So now you've got the relief, if relief is the right word, in the situation that you're living with, that isn't going to go ahead. It then led you to open up his laptop and take a look, because you hadn't felt you could in case you were accused of corrupting evidence or something. So you opened up the laptop, and what did you discover?
I'm sorry. It was a love letter to me from my husband.
Gosh,
it was the last thing that he'd written, and
I'm going to get the tissue.
Sorry, thank you.
Because I know this is hard, but it's...
And he was clear in it that this was for me when I came back. It was him trying to support me, knowing that the times were going to be hard for me and the boys. It was just him supporting me, but it was the last thing that... his last words to me, and I've been denied those for 10 months. You know, the police didn't take any of his electronic equipment. His phone I'd already used while I was in Switzerland, but the tablet, I knew that had evidence, and I knew that had evidence to support me if there was a prosecution, so I didn't want to taint any evidence, you know, and be accused of fiddling with the information on it.
You could have had the succour of that comfort that even at the end he wanted to support you, which...
His last wish wasn't granted because of the laws that we have in place, the draconian, ridiculous law that we have in place, and this is why it needs to change. But it also needs to change. We need to consider people who are still going to go to Switzerland, Dignitas, Pegasus exit. You know, we need to consider what we do with these people now. You know, there's been no healthcare professional have been interviewed by police, which astounds me, because they're the people that knew us, professional people that could say whether or not they had any concerns about my husband going. Yeah, I can't say too much because I'm considering my options with regards to the investigation.
What's your view on the assisted dying bill as it's going through? Obviously, it's being stalled at the moment in the House of Lords. It doesn't look like it's going to be law, whatever happens, for another 4 years. You talk about your husband dying with dignity.
Did.
His own choice, you alongside him. For those out there that are troubled by this, what would you say to them?
I would say we're not the forefathers of this bill. This bill has been going on for 40-odd years around the world. There you have all your evidence with regards to coercion, safeguarding, etc., etc. It's all there. It's at your fingertips. Need to look at that. We're not the forefathers. The bill is robust, possibly too robust, but it is robust. You have the professionals there that will be involved with doing safeguarding checks, etc., etc. You know, so we need to bring this law in. If you don't want to have an assisted death, you don't have to have one. That's your choice. If you want to not live the journey that your disease is going to give you, then you can take that assisted death. And with regards to the 6-month ruling that I think people are getting confused about, is that you don't have to die within those 6 months. You don't have to take the fluid, you know, within those 6 months. You know, if you plateau or your disease just, you know, you're doing OK, that you can go on. It's, you know, it's not a time frame of 6 months. The time frame for 6 months is for medics and for the bill to be able to say you're applicable.
And you can say, as Esther Ranson says, you can choose to live your life the fullest at that point,
yes.
Knowing that you have control when the moment comes. North Yorkshire Police have given us a statement. They say while the Crown Prosecution Service concluded the evidential tests had been met regarding assisted suicide, it was decided not to be in the public interest to prosecute. Our thoughts remain with Mr Shackleton's family, as do, I think, everyone's watching you this morning, and so many people will feel your pain and be in a similar position. So I know it takes extraordinary bravery to come on and speak about these things, but it is incredible the courage you have to do it.
Thanks for your courage. I'm so glad you got to read that letter.
Yes.
Well, if you've been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.